the newly announced Fable remake set to release this year, I wanted to go back and play the 3 mainline Fable games, that being Fable 1, Fable 2, and Fable 3, with a goal of finding out if I'd recommend these games to people prior to the remake, whether or not these games were even good to begin with, and what my main concerns and hopes are with the new game tackling the Fable IP. So what key points will I be addressing? I'll be addressing gameplay, story, characters, the balance of gear and powers within Fable, and quests. These are key points that within my experience of the Fable games come in line with what I'm looking at when it comes to making this retrospective. All footage you see is recorded from the Fable anniversary on PC. This will be the first video I have ever made, so I do apologize for the quality issues that present itself. After all, you do have to start somewhere, and with that out of the way, let's begin. Fable 1 released in September of 2004, and if I had to say anything about the gameplay, well, it'd definitely be old. Fable's gameplay breaks down into 3 fighting mechanics: swing a sword, shoot a bow, and use magic. Those 3 styles of combat, that's it. And it doesn't get any more basic than that. For melee combat with a weapon, you can swing your sword freely. However, any object or person highlighted in red will take damage from you. Folks in towns or traders in the world, they don't take damage from you, unless you lock onto them. And for the people in towns, you gotta lock onto them, kill them, not pay your fine, and then you can freely swing and kill the entire town if you feel like it. The lock-on system is the worst thing about melee combat for me. Yeah, sure, it's a 1v1 type mechanic and it can help you, but with how easy it is to manage groups of enemies with just swinging your sword, or your mace, or your hammer, or whatever, it's pointless. If 3 enemies swarm you, you can hit all 3 at once. So locking on to focus one target kinda hinders you because of how the camera limits your focus on your surroundings. The camera slightly zooms in on your target and your character is focused on them. However, once you kill that target, the lock-on system doesn't release you, it moves you to the next target. So I guess that's helpful, but it can be intrusive. Although it is really just easier to freely swing. The only thing that can take damage is a barrel or a door. Should you be fighting with non-hostile enemies around, you don't even have to be careful. You just swing your sword and go nuts. They won't take damage unless you lock on. Archery in this game is awful. It's probably the worst combat system to use in Fable, and that's me going off of memory. Every time I've played Fable 1, I've used archery a total of 8 times, and 4 of those were in the tutorial. The tutorial has the graded trial, and then the default tutorial for using a bow, kill some bandits in the woods, which is optional, fight Maze in the final test, to shoot a bandit's head off in one side quest in particular, because he'll just kill a hostage if you get too close, so you kind of have to shoot him, to shoot a silver key out of a pillar of stone, the final fight with Maze, and the final fight with Jack of Blades. There's really no other instances. So yeah, archery, at least in my opinion, is kind of useless. And it's for a couple reasons. First, you can free aim with the bow. However, you're stationary and cannot move. You can only aim it. So what's the point? You just stand there like a fool, taking aim while being pushed by an enemy that will stun you out of the aim. It's just not worth it. You can aim without zooming in, but then you have to use a best guess style of aiming where you just walk around drawing the bow back and trying to line up the shot. You look like an asshole. Then there's the most effective way, which is what most people would do, and that's to use the lock-on system, which is super good at using a bow. You just lock onto a target, pull back, and shoot, and they just fall over. They don't really stun you out of the animation, but you have to redraw the bow. So, make that with what you will. I want to quickly touch on stealth. There is some sort of stealth in Fable 1, but it's kind of terrible. You hunch over a little, you move slower, and somewhat quieter, I guess. There's a little eye icon at the top of your map, and it squints when you're stealthy and people don't see you. But that's about it. However, people and enemies can still catch you very easily. Oh, and did I mention that how you only use it in like one part of the game? Yeah, you do. And if you get caught, you raise an alarm, have a fight, and then you have to repeat the sneaking minigame. And I can't even call it a minigame. So like, just kill those enemies in that one part of the game. It's faster than wasting your time with the stealth option. It also has a skill tab where you can dump your experience into, and increasing the perk will allow you to steal in a quiet manner or pick locks. That sounds good, right? No, it's pointless too. Stealing is easier. You just walk up and take it when it's highlighted. Like, there's nothing to stealing. And then you just run from town and wait until your timer is up and come back. Same can be said for lockpicking. Lockpicking is just awful. You have to sit there and hold. I'm just gonna say the A button, and you'll have a bar fill up. It's not worth it. Smash the door down, let the alarm go off, steal what you want, kill who you want, leave, timer go down, come back. Seriously, stealth in Fable 1 is very worthless and very bad overall. So we're gonna move on. There's nothing to stealth really.
Next, we will learn about the ways of the will.
The will abilities in Fable 1 are so cool. And I really didn't like how Fable 2 and 3 kind of backed off on these. So I hope the remake really brings back the magic, literal magic of Fable. But in Fable 1, these abilities are absurdly broken. You have offensive spells, surround spells, and physical spells. Attack spells are cool, don't get me wrong. They have a place in the game, but man, you are vulnerable with some of them. But once you've upgraded them to the max level, while they're still not great, they can mess enemies up. Divine Fury and Infernal Wrath are AoE spells from the Lost Chapters that are really good from start to finish, but they leave you very vulnerable. And spells like Lightning and Fireball are hot garbage until they get to level 4. Then they're a little better, but they're still pretty bad. There's nothing to complement your attack spells either. You can only use one spell at a time, so unlike Skyrim, for example, you can't mix them. That being said, there's one spell, at least one attack spell, that breaks the game. Just completely destroys it. And every fight encounter is completely destroyed by this spell. Surround spells are your crowd control type spells. They're okay. They do what they do. Force push, slow time. Pretty obvious what those do. If you get swarmed by multiple enemies real fast, and while it is not hard to clear them with sword combat, force push gives you a little bit of breathing room, and slow time allows you to just run past enemies or dish out more damage in the time window. So they can help you. Turncoat, summon, and drain life aren't the best. Drain life is outclassed by another spell, and summon is good if you want the trophy or if you struggle in combat, because it just adds another creature to the fight that levels up based off of its level and the enemy it kills. And the same rule applies to Turncoat. Turncoat sounds like it sounds. It makes the enemy join your side like summon and is another body, but you'll eventually have to kill them. And those three are kind of just meh. But now we come to our last set, and those are the physical spells. These spells enhance the player character's abilities, and they straight up are insane spells. Physical Shield, Multi-Arrow, Berserk, Assassin's Rush, Heal Life, Ghost Sword, and all of these are really good. You want Physical Shield? Awesome. It completely negates all damage. You don't get stunned until your shield breaks, and then you get stunned and take damage. Why would you not want that? Want to shoot multiple arrows at once? Well, Multi-Arrow will do it. You can shoot 3 arrows at once, and at max level, you can shoot 4. Like, shooting 4 arrows at once? Yeah, that's pretty good. Oh, and each of those arrows you shoot, they do the same amount of damage as your normal one shot with the bow. So just, it's too good. Berserk increases your strength, allowing you to deal insane amounts of damage and knocking enemies down to the ground. This spell can be annoying because of that. Because if you're knocking people to the ground, you gotta wait for them to get back up. So Berserk, it can be a little annoying. Berserk also lets you swing heavy weapons as if they were light. So if you never put any experience into strength, Berserk is a way to go. Assassin's Rush lets you traverse the map somewhat faster, but also lets you get behind enemies and hit them with those sweet, sweet back shots, baby. So Assassin's Rush is one of my go-tos. It's a really good spell. Heal Life is trading your mana for your health, and not only that, but you can also heal followers. There are escort quests in the game, and this is very helpful if your follower takes damage. It's a very good spell. Ghost Swords are great for extra damage and crowd control. They're a pseudo summon turncoat because you summon swords to help you fight. That's awesome. And I would say it's the weakest physical spell, but it's really good. The spells in Fable fit the fantasy very well, and I strongly recommend it. Yeah, there are outliers, but that doesn't change much of feeling like a wizard. And as a kid playing Fable 1, these spells were amazing. This would probably be the most fleshed out part of the mechanics in Fable. For each of your combat styles, you gain experience based on what you use. Hell, even what you eat gives you experience. You have might, skill, and will, and then there's general experience. How you gain this experience is rather cool. Well, yes, it's not unusual for current games to have this type of system. For a game in 2004, and one of the first games I ever played, I thought it was really cool. To gain experience from might, you attack with a melee weapon, and for each enemy you kill, this will net you experience, along with gaining a good amount of general experience. The same thing applies for skill and will trees. Use a bow on enemies, get skill experience. Cast spells on enemies, gain willpower experience, all while gaining general experience at the same time. But that's not all. You gain might, skill, and will experience from other sources. There are potions in the game labeled for their respective trees. This will net you 1,000 experience for each potion, and you'll gain a small amount from certain foods. Carrots provide skill, meat for might, and fish for will. So there's a little reward for eating the food in the game over the health and mana potions. However, this does narrow down to just these 3 foods, being a best in slot for healing. So stock up on those 3 foods and you can essentially spam your way to a maximum amount of points. And let's not forget that this game even has a combat multiplier. When you hit an enemy, you get a little cross swords in the top left of the screen, and it'll be a 1. And each time you do damage, it'll go up. It'll go 1, 2, 3, 4. The multiplier goes down if you get hit, traverse areas, or just ignore it because of the time. It goes down very quickly. So you can kind of min-max how much XP you gain with that combat multiplier. Example of you having a combat multiplier of 27, you can drink a potion of skill, might, or will, and that'll give you 27,000 XP. Same goes for food, but since I'm bad at math, I don't know what that technically is. But if you have a combat multiplier of 27, mash the button on that food if you have a great abundance of it to get as much XP as you can. I really like this system because it rewards you for using food and potions to their fullest, along with making sure you don't get hit in the process. That's another thing I really like about the experience of Fable 1, is you are rewarded for the tree and class that you are. So I would say the gameplay of Fable 1, while old, it's neat, but it is old. It does feel good to swing a sword, to cast spells, even to shoot a bow. It's not the worst thing, and it could be a lot better, but the gameplay for a 2004 game, it's good. I like it a lot. The balance of Fable 1 and even the Anniversary Edition, it's poor. In open world RPGs, you have a clear path of progression. Sometimes you don't, but most of the time you do. You start out weak, and then you get strong through the game. In Fable, this is still the case. Your weapon goes from an iron weapon to steel, obsidian, master, to legendary. Bows are yew, oak, obsidian, master, legendary. Armor is cloth, leather, chainmail to plate. Spells 1 through 4. It's clear progression. So how does it kind of get unbalanced? Well, it's at the rate you acquire this. You see, the enemies of the world aren't locked to a level. They progress with your character's power. Bandits are the meter I noticed this, because I never actually noticed when I was younger. I noticed this recently. So at the beginning of the game, bandits will have iron weapons and they'll be skinny, but they max out as some beefy boys with master weapons. What I did when I discovered this is I was using mods and I gave myself a bunch of XP to be overpowered from the start. I noticed immediately that bandits had master weapons in areas that they normally don't have that at the start of the game. But there are areas that are level locked. The arena, Darkwood entrance, and Lookout Point. Those are level locked. Most areas are not. And some that are is because those enemies don't have a different variation. Funnily enough, there's 12 enemies in this whole game, not counting bosses. For each enemy has a variant to those. Beetles, wasps, bandits, hobs, those all level up with the character. But Balverines, undead, nymphs, minions, summoners, trolls, and even bandits. Hobs do have a subclass that doesn't really level up with you. It's just a different variety of enemy, albeit a stronger one. Fable 1 has roughly 20 unique enemies in the game itself, including bosses. That gets close to 30. Not bad for a game in 2004, but what does this have to do with balance? Well, weapons have stats on them, ranging from small damage to big PP damage, like insane. And because the rate you can acquire these items is so fast, the balance starts to break and crack. And if you truly understand the game, you will completely break it. In the tutorial, you can receive an iron longsword and an iron katana. You'll proceed to do 2 main quests before you earn enough money to buy an obsidian weapon, completely skipping steel. An obsidian weapon will carry you all the way to the middle part of the game. So the first 2 hours of the game will grant you weapons for the next 4 hours. Should you acquire a legendary weapon before the middle of the game, that legendary weapon will carry you even further. Most of the time, in my experience, I gain the Cutlass Blutane, and that sword will carry me all the way through the game. But the Cutlass Blutane, the Katana Hiru, the Murrain Great Hammer, and the strongest sword in the game, the Solus Greatsword, all of these weapons, if you get them early, carry you super hard. From my experience, enemies of Fable have a lot of health, but because they don't all have health bars, you can't really gauge the damage in that way. There are damage numbers on the bottom right, which you can gauge that way, or what I normally do, the hit system. Depending on the enemy, they take between 1 to 10 hits. Most enemies take 3 to 5. This does get worse when you use one of the most broken spells in the game, and that's Multi-Strike. Multi-Strike is a spell that allows you to do exactly what it says, multiple strikes. Pretty obvious. However, this isn't your character swinging multiple times. This is swing once, and then the enemy takes multiple hits on top of the initial swing. So around 1 to 4 hits total. And that spell's not blockable. So there's nothing the enemy can do. They can block your initial hit, sure, but the spell doesn't deactivate. It stays active. So once you do hit them, it's gonna dish out all the damage. So a spell that's unblockable and can deal multiple hits with no way to block it and doesn't have a cooldown sounds pretty broken. But what if I told you it gets even more broken? The spell Berserk. Berserk increases your damage at max level up to 150%, speed, and attack angle, which attack angle means you're above them, you'll decapitate them. It's just like a higher chance. And, well, because of that damage applies to multi-strike. Oh, there's a little bit more. The slow time spell slows down the enemies while you remain at normal speed with Berserk and multi-strike. Yeah, you kinda can insta-melt every boss unless they have a health gate. And while I know this is normal for some games and requires knowledge of Fable 1 systems, it's something I find an issue because there isn't a cooldown to any of these spells other than your mana bar, which is easily replenished with 1 button press. Because potions and food are very common in the game. Health potions, food, and will potions are prioritized on console and PC, so you're never in any danger because you can instantly press it. So you're always able to heal at the press of a button with no difficulty. You deal massive amounts of damage. Yeah, that's pretty unbalanced. Melee weapons are also kind of one-sided. Axes, pickaxes, and maces, in my opinion, are terrible. They deal a bit more damage than swords, sure, but the trade-off for them is their inability to do an execution. When you knock an enemy to the ground, they'll have these little stars above their head. Same thing if you knock them out while they're standing. Then they're able to be executed. With a sword, you just straight down stab them. Instant kill. If they get back up, they're a one hit anyway, so it's not the end of the world. But if you have a mace, pickaxe, or an axe, you kick them for 10 damage. This doesn't kill them. In fact, this kick is worthless. So honestly, the trade-off for an execution over a small amount of damage isn't worth it. Swords are more efficient, by far. The armor in the game and the spells in the game, they're kind of balanced. There are outliers, but almost every game has some sort of outlier. And one is always above the other, but that's also part of natural progression. You can do certain things, but it's never really that crazy. I'm not going to touch on the economy that much because the economy can be abused pretty easily. That being said, it's not difficult. You can kill everybody in a town, well, almost everybody in a town, buy all the houses, make a bunch of money, play blackjack. Just, it's not hard. The game's economy is very easy to break in all manners. I do want to quickly mention the DLC gear for Fable Anniversary. Don't buy it. If you wanted to buy this game on Steam, don't buy this DLC. It's laughable. It's terrible. It's expensive and it's completely worthless immediately. Sure, it adds a little bit of flavor and some funny moments, but holy crap is this stuff terrible. My modded playthrough I did a couple weeks before I streamed all the gameplay you see here, I bought everything and it was terrible. I never used it. It was worthless to me. So we're gonna move on to our next topic. It's time to discuss the story. Fable's story is very linear and it's very simple. There isn't anything grand about it. There are maybe two plot twists, and even those are not bombastic enough to where you go, oh my gosh, I had no idea, that's crazy. So the story is pretty mid, but it's everything around that story that makes the world better. Reading lore books of the world and the guildmaster narrating through these really awesome storyboard paintings that give you a little show of the story in it, those really elevate Fable 1 a lot. And it helps to fill in the gaps of what's missed. And while it's still not perfect, you shouldn't need lore to make a good story. I think the main story is enough to get by, but reading lore books and watching the guildmaster talk about it and understanding it really helps it a lot. So where do we begin? We start off with a narration from the guildmaster as he lays out a small portion of the world we'll be playing in. He touches on our classes, that we can kind of be a powerful wizard or a knight, and our morality, a good boy or a bad boy, essentially. As the narration ends, we wake up from a nap to our father telling us that today's our sister's birthday and we suck as a brother, so we better get her a gift. Father wants to reward us with a gold piece for each good deed we accomplish. And as we set off to do those good deeds, we immediately talk to a little girl looking for her teddy bear, a man cheating on his wife, and that man will offer to pay us some money to keep our mouth shut. For each good and evil interaction here, we're having the foundation of our path laid. This game uses a very binary system of good and evil. So if you do the obvious good thing and get good boy points, do the obvious bad thing, get bad boy points. The system isn't perfect, but I think the writing for Fable 1, it kind of fits pretty well, and since it is a Fable, it makes a little bit of sense. Fable doesn't, at least Fable 1, it doesn't have moral ambiguity or complex decisions. It's good and it's evil, or good versus evil. The choices do matter in a gameplay sense. When you do good deeds, you become a virtuous character, gaining a halo above your head, and moths or butterflies, I never really know, they look like moths because they're white, but that doesn't really make sense to me. But your hands will glow blue and your hair will become blonde. But if you commit these immoral actions, your hair becomes jet black, you grow horns, your eyes get black with a red glow, your hands and feet become broken and molten looking, you leave a trail of red smoke behind you. You honestly look super cool, but you're horrifying to people and they will run away from you. So while you may look cool, people think you look horrible. I really like the morality system changing your body. It's a cool detail to see that your actions affect you physically, and while those actions are one-dimensional, it doesn't take away from this, at least in my opinion. So I'm a little heartbroken that the new game isn't going to do this. I feel like they took what they saw in Fable 3, because Fable 3 doesn't have a moral system, so to speak, and they were like, hey, let's make it more deep and complex. Anyway, as we continue to do these good or bad deeds, we net 3 gold coins to buy our sister a box of chocolates. And once we do this, we run off to find her. Upon reaching her, she talks about how she had a dream and that we were going to give her chocolates, when suddenly our village is attacked by bandits. They slaughter everyone. We're the only survivor. We run home to find our father dead, and as we're crying over the loss of our father, a bandit charges us, only to be struck down by a hero. And that hero is Maze, the leader of the Heroes Guild. Maze takes us to the guild and introduces us to the guildmaster. Leaving us in his care, he shows us to our room, where we are told that our roommate will be Whisper. He proceeds to leave us alone, and our character cries. There's no dialogue for this, but when our character cries, I really like this. It's a little thing that shows the trauma of everything hitting our character at once. If we look at it from his perspective, he lost his family, his village, he almost died and was taken to a new home. Everything hits him at once. And now that he has a moment to breathe, he cries. It's a little thing that I do enjoy about this scene, because you don't really realize it. At least I never did when I was a kid. I didn't understand. I was like, why is he crying? There are other several moments of the game where they convey this little story beat or story thing or way to beat someone very naturally. It doesn't feel forced, and they're not telling you exactly what's going on. We spend the next hour getting taught game systems, along with introducing us to 2 reoccurring characters. our roommate and rival Whisper, and the champion of the arena and Whisper's brother, Thunder. After our training arc and montage, Whisper and our character are graduating from the guild. The guildmaster tells us that we're free to do whatever we want, perform good deeds or horrible ones, which is kind of interesting because we're in a guild. Shouldn't we be doing good things? Another thing that is interesting is how many people graduate from the guild. Does this thing churn out heroes every week, month, decade? Like, it's never stated. There's always a few heroes that are talked about, but it's honestly confusing as to when the next hero arises. Regardless, it's fine. It's a little weird. I think Fable 2 addresses this somewhat better in its lore, and while it's an odd choice to have this guild focus on training people to be heroes and then openly telling them that they can go do something horrible at the same time, and then providing quests to do said horrible actions, I don't know, quite literally creating a problem that will compound and be your own destruction. Just saying, maybe you should have done something a little different, because you're telling these upstart heroes and giving these people power to protect everyone and destroy evil, but also telling them, hey man, go kill people. You'll get money. It's like, okay, sure. Anyway, as we leave, the guildmaster sets us up for our first quest. And this is when I feel the game sets us into complete overdrive. The total playtime of this game is probably about 15 hours. And I played it on hard mode and normal mode. Both times took me 15 hours. Your mileage could vary, but I did everything and it took me 15 hours. So this game goes by very quick. You set off to fight a wasp queen. You get told to meet Maze in a town. Maze tells you there's a rumor of a seer and that you should find her. Then you run through Darkwood. The guildmaster tells you that there's a temple for a dark god named Scorm. There's a lore book in the game that goes into Scorm a bit more. It's pretty neat. While a little shallow, it's still pretty neat. It does leave up some interpretation, which I do appreciate, but it's not much. Once you go through the woods, you'll reach a familiar town, the town of Oakvale, your hometown. As you walk through the town, a girl's gonna approach you and she recognizes you. You are the one who found her teddy bear because this is the girl who was looking for Rosie. She'll talk to you and send you into a PTSD frenzy where your town was attacked, everything's on fire, and you're freaking out. And then she talks about how she moved to Barrowstone and how she survived isn't mentioned in the game. I do like this, but I also don't, because while it is cool to see your character is definitely haunted by the trauma, the lack of voice acting really hurts. I'm never a big fan of silent protagonists, especially ones that don't have dialogue options. But the fact that people also survived the Oakvale raid kind of bothers me. I get it's possible. It just seems like a odd choice. There's a few things in this game that kind of feel like it's missing, like her, for example, or things that your character react to. I feel like there's something missing. I'm not 100%. And again, it's still serviceable. It's just kind of weird. We meet Maze at the tavern, and he tells us that our sister could be alive, and we should find this seer to ask the whereabouts of our sister. He tells us that the seer is in Twinblade's camp, and we'll have to get through. We sneak through the camp, or slaughter our way through, to find Twinblade. Twinblade is an ex-hero. He's a hulking brute of a man, heavily armored, imposing, and he trash talks you. He walks away getting ready for a fight, and again, this is something I do like. When he walks away, you see his back isn't armored at all. It's got scars, and it's got wounds all over it. So when you fight him, he blocks every frontal attack that you dish to him. But if you get behind him, he's helpless. And it's a small thing like that where they don't throw a tooltip or anything on how you beat him. It's just lightly telegraphed with him walking away. It's a small thing, but I do appreciate it. With Twinblade defeated, he tells us to finish him off quickly. He'd do the same for us. And I think that's because Twinblade isn't an evil person. He has honor and a code. He sees us as someone who bested him and has earned his respect in a fight. Had Twinblade bested us, he'd give us a quick death to honor our valor in a fight. Without hesitation, we go for the final strike, only to be stopped by the seer, who reveals herself to be our sister. Teresa survived the attack, barely though. She was stricken blind and became a guide to Twinblade and his clan after they found her. Teresa tells us about the real story beat for Fable, and honestly, it's the overall storyline. She tells us that our bloodline is a strong one, and that we have the power to beat the coming evil. She gives us a portion of this power. She revitalizes our bloodline, or something along those lines. Says it's a gift, and gameplay standards is just XP. With all that, Teresa says she has to go, and that's the end of part 1 for Fable. We now enter the second part of this game, and this is probably some of the best part for Fable. I look forward, Act 2, or part 2 or whatever you want to call it. It's a nice part. We seek an audience with Maze, and he tells us his friend is missing and that we have to find him. So he informs us to go to Witchwood to find his friend, an archaeologist. We rescue his friend, and then we go to a village that's under a Balverine attack. There we go, to Knothole Glade, a village in the woods, with a prime trade being logging. Go figure, it's a village in a woods. Here we fight a white Balverine, which honestly, it's not that deep. It's quite literally the werewolf bite, kill it with silver storylines we've heard in a million different things. There are lore books that kind of give it a little bit more justice, but it's still the same. After that, we fight it and we kill it. Really not hard. The chief will tell us about something our sister sent him that was meant for us. And here we receive a book that tells us about our bloodline, the key and the sword. We get a commendation from the chief of Knothole Glade. It's to participate in the arena, and the arena is a gauntlet of enemy types we face throughout the game. As we progress through the arena, we team up with Whisper, and as we approach our final round, we're told to have a sparring match, only to have Jack of Blades show up and inform us that we need to kill Whisper. She gives us the choice to walk away or fight to the death. In this playthrough, I chose to walk away, because it's a little bit of a more narrative sense for future games. As we beat the arena, sorta, we are met with Lady Grey and Thunder. Thunder is talking mad shit, while Lady Grey swoons for us immediately. Lady Grey tells us that we should meet her in Barrowstone North and that she might have a proposition for us. Thunder gets his panties in a twist here and storms off. If we've killed his sister, he swears to extract his vengeance on us. We get escorted out of the arena and are told about the old arena champion. Turns out to be our mother. There, as we look upon the statue, Jack of Blades approaches us from behind and tells us about our mother. Says she was a great warrior and that he'd love to reunite us. So Jack of Blades kind of just openly admits that he either A, knows where our mother is, B, that she lived through the raid, or C, is holding our hostage. I don't know, kind of telegraphs here that Jack's kind of evil, even though if you couldn't figure it out by the look of him, just kind of saying he's not the best. We leave abruptly and are told by some random bandit to go talk to our sister at the Grey House. I think we were supposed to have gone to the Grey House prior via exploration, so if you didn't do that, it could be a little hard to find. It's not too tough, but I don't know, if you don't explore, it could be tough. We rush to meet our sister, and she tells us that Jack has our mother held up in Bargate Prison ever since the raid of Oakvale. Not only that, but Jack is the one who cut out Teresa's eyes. So she tells us to find the archaeologist. So we set out from there. Teresa also tells us that our mother has a gift for us, and I believe this is supposed to be Teresa using her clairvoyant abilities. So that's our next goal, is to find the archaeologist. So I'll be honest, the game's story practically comes to a halt, at least with boredom. I found this part of the story to just be so lacking and intriguing. Nothing drove me forward. There were boring side quests, and the story is just kind of lacking. I don't know, it didn't feel right for me, even when I was a kid. The Lady Grey side quests were really exciting though, and we'll touch on that a little bit. So we find the archaeologist. He calls us a dick for fighting him in the first place, and then we go to Litchfield Graveyard to go in the prison. We find our mom, and then are immediately ambushed by Jack. He informs us that he's been spying on us with the trophy we won from the arena. Jack talks about the sword and the bloodline, but man, the game really fails at talking about this in more ways. It's just so surface level. What's the sword? What's the key? What bloodline? While writing the script, I found it really frustratingly shallow of a story. There are some moments that are good, but honestly, the narration with the key art was the best stuff. So we break out of prison, we fight a boss, and here the narrator talks about how our character feels about the situation at hand. And it's nice that Jack is the one who orchestrated the whole event that kicks off the game and puts us on this path for revenge. We never actually see it because our character doesn't talk. It's so crap. Continuing, our mom tells us to go to Hook Coast. We reach Hook Coast, but a barrier is blocking us. Our mom says to return to the guild, and she's immediately captured by Jack. Guildmaster, you have some very lax security if Jack of Blades can just walk in and steal people. Just saying. I don't know. She tells us to grab the book, which we do, and the guildmaster says to bring it to him so he can read the inscription to take down the barrier. There we find the key, but Maze is there with our sister, and he tries to tell us that our sister is working for Jack, but we know that's not true because obviously she wouldn't. And then Maze immediately folds. Jack comes up and says, quit being a fool, and Maze folds. We kill Maze, and he talks about how he wasn't strong enough to beat Jack and that he was a coward. And we're off to run after Jack. Like, we're in full force here, which I get it, it's the end of the game. Jack's going after the focus sites, these giant stone balls around the map that we would have saw during our exploration, but unfortunately Jack's one step ahead of us each time. He says we're trash and goes around to each one and is just like talking mad trash, like cool. And then he goes to the guild. We arrive to find the guild in flames and the guildmaster wounded. He says Jack is in the central chamber and he has our mother and sister. We run there only to find it's too late. Jack has the sword, but he needs blood, so he cuts our mother's throat. Now it's really time for revenge, but we mop the floor with him, and Teresa says to strike her down and keep the sword and become stronger than Jack ever wished to be, or throw the sword in the vortex and its darkness will be lost forever. We obviously throw it into the vortex. Teresa says she needs to find her way in the world and says goodbye. Jack is gone, the sword's gone, and the world's at peace until a year later. In the Oakvale graveyard, our mother's grave was built tall next to our father's. There is also a grave at Litchfield Graveyard that talks about Brahm, but the guildmaster calls and says we need to come back and solve a new mystery. We're told that the oracle from a faraway land is awake and we need to get there. But to get there, we need the Fireheart, a massive orb to power a lighthouse for a special ghost ship. We solve some super easy puzzle, save some annoying priests, and get the Fireheart. Nothing crazy here. We go to Hook Coast and plug it in, set sail, and there we arrive at the Lost Bay, and we begin our journey to Snowspire Village, where we meet Scythe, a mystical man, so to speak. He tells us the oracle's awake, and to speak with them, we need tablets from the necropolis. Go to the necropolis, find the tablets, and the oracle tells us that Jack of Blades is back in a new form, and we must find a way into the Bronze Gate to kill him. We also need to use his mask to seal his soul, apparently. Briar Rose tells us to capture 3 souls to open the gate. The first soul is the champion of the arena, which is us or Thunder, since we're the only 2 alive. Obviously, we don't kill ourselves, but Thunder, though, he looking pretty good. We go to kill Thunder, we return with this soul. The reason for that is Thunder tells us that if we go to the arena and claim souls of the arena, that quest or side quest or different path, dude, it sucks. It's not worth it. Just kill Thunder. Next, we need a woman hero's soul. It's either Briar or a mother, which sure. But since Briar has some things going on for her, because she's kind of cool, but not really, but she's kind of cool, we go to claim our mother's soul and cast it away. The last soul is the Guildmaster or Nostro's soul, the guild's founder. It's asking for the oldest soul, and since the Guildmaster and Nostro are the oldest souls, we get to choose. The Guildmaster is somewhat useless, so we're gonna go claim Nostro's soul. Claim it, and we go back. There, Jack is waiting for us on the other side of what seems to be hell, and his new form is a dragon. He's so edgy. I love Jack. We kill him with ease and claim his soul, then chuck his mask into the pit of fire. The whole time, someone is narrating us not to wear the mask, and someone's telling us to wear the mask. I don't know who's talking to us to not wear it. I'm assuming the mask itself is obviously saying wear it, but as for not wearing it, we don't know who that is. So we toss it into the fire and Jack is finally gone forever. I didn't really go into depth on the story, just kind of gave a synopsis or a rough draft or whatever you want to call it, because the story is kind of one note. It has very little cause and effect. There's no emotional beats. It suffers from your character not having any vocal lines and is just being talked at. There's no dialogue options. The characters speaking to you are one note and they show zero emotion or any real change in vocal pitch to elevate the story. I think you'd have to look at this story and go, evil villain defeat good win. Like it's basic, and that's if you're a good boy the whole playthrough. Being evil, at least you have a view on getting revenge and doing whatever it takes. The RPG in this RPG is not very deep. The game story doesn't talk about the importance of your bloodline, just what you're special at or special about or whatever. Anything with actual depth in the narrative is conveyed through its world building, which the Guildmaster shows you with key art. The lore books you find throughout the world and the Oracle in Snowspire. These are all optional though, so you could easily miss what's actually the best part of the game. This isn't necessarily a problem, and looking back, I thought the story was good until I started peeling back and analyzing it, realizing no, it's actually really bad, or at least basic. So don't expect anything crazy here. Just know it's really not the best, and you're here just for a ride. There are options you can choose that change little parts of the narrative and little dialogue options like killing Whisper, killing your sister, and killing Briar Rose, the Guildmaster, Thunder, and wearing Jack's mask. All of these alternate options that change snippets of the game, but otherwise they don't affect much. So there's not a lot. Well, if the story is kind of flat, but the world is cool and the lore is really cool, what about the characters? Well, there's only a few characters that are worth speaking about. Other characters are expanded upon in books, but they're very flat. Whisper, Thunder, Maze, Sorta, and Lady Grey are, in my opinion, the best characters of the game. And unfortunately, they're still flat. You must read into them to get some sort of substance out of them. But I feel that if you don't read into them, they're at least somewhat decent. So do with that as you will. Whisper is your Pokemon-esque rival. She taunts you, she mocks you through the game, she challenges you in combat multiple times. She acts like she's better than you and only accepts that you're better than her if you don't kill her in the arena. If you do kill her, she'll say, I was always right about you being a monster, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, all right, girl, should you not kill her? You'll meet her in Oakvale and she'll talk to you about how she struggled with you being always one step ahead and she plans to return to her homeland. Should you listen to the Oracle in Snowspire, he'll give you a little epilogue of her and she becomes the hero of her hometown. It is very sweet. I'm never a big fan of characters that you meet through a game leaving and not being interacted with or getting any info about them. So getting this little epilogue for Whisper, it's nice. It is bittersweet. I'm never a big fan of how things can end. The game Mass Effect is probably the biggest contributor to why I feel like this, because I don't feel satisfied. I feel empty and I feel wanting more. You have great cast of characters in Mass Effect. So when the game ends, I want to keep knowing about their journey, their lives. I want to know. And with something like Whisper going off to her homeland, I want to know. It's just something that I've always wanted. So I do appreciate the Oracle telling me a little bit of story with her. Thunder also has something going on for him. He's a cocky hero who wants his sister to be just like him. A great hero who's got it all. Only we never get to see him. Only we get to see him fall. Thunder looks down upon us because he sees himself as the best. But we're an upcoming hero and we have a little bit of cheats in our blood. We see Thunder flexing his status to kids, showing off, talking about how his sister will be great and we're a nobody. And we won't see him again until we beat the arena. And we immediately catch Lady Grey's attention, which Thunder, as her suitor, he gets big upsetty. Thunder loves Lady Grey, and he badmouths us so that we don't steal her from him. And if you kill his sister, he'll try to tell her that we're a monster for killing his sister. But to her, that doesn't matter. When pursuing the quest to take Lady Grey's hand, Thunder will be an obstacle you have to take on. He chastises you for killing his sister and says he will extract his revenge. If you don't kill Whisper, he says he'll just best you in combat for Lady Grey's hand, which I don't even think she would do. You'll find him on Headsman Hill with a crowd of people watching, and Thunder wants to humiliate you and show the people that he's a true hero and that you're a nobody, only to be bested again, fall off a cliff, and fight you in a cave. This is where he plans to kill you, but it's the end for him. It's Thunder's last grasp, and you beat him, and he leaves the cave a broken man. In the lost chapters, you do have to find the soul for the champion of the arena, and Thunder is that soul, or at least one of them. You track him down the Knothole Glade, and he's trying to ask the chief there if they need a hero, and they shoo him away. Thunder is a broken man. He's lost his sister. He's lost the woman he loves. And nobody wants him around as a hero. So killing him while evil is kind of like putting down a dog. I don't know, Thunder kind of sucks in some ways, but he shouldn't have been mean to me. When you choose to fight him, he's not going down without a fight. He's a broken man. He's got nothing left. And I love it. He went for fame and glory instead of being a true hero. And you show up and smack him down. I love it. I did say Maze was a pretty good character, but honestly, the vanilla part of the game gives you nothing to work with. Just that he's a weak coward of a man who's a pawn to Jack of Blades. The Lost Chapters opens up that little nugget a bit more and talks about how Maze was kind of indebted to Jack, but wanted to stop him. He just failed because he can't. He's weak. So he'll just die instead of facing him. Kind of a coward. And then there's Lady Grey.
I am Lady Grey, the Mayor of Bowerstone.
Lady Grey is a fucking monster, and I love it. She was manipulated by Jack of Blades, and she was manipulated into having her sister killed. She lusts for power and status. She sold books from a school to build a manor for her to live in. She has a freaking magic rock, which has no explanation. I don't even know what it is. She hires bandits to rob a farmer for magic stones, and she'll murder anyone you look at if you marry her. She's awesome, and she's just awful. I love her. She's the craziest character that's calm and collected, and she's a small cog in the game, but she's really cool. She hates you if you're pure evil. You'll look ugly, and she just hates you. But she has this aura. I don't know. I love Lady Grey. She's a lot of fun. We're gonna do a light touch up on the quests here because I don't want to break down every single quest. They're not that deep. In Fable 1, there's 3 types of quests. You got your main quests, which are gold, side quests, which are silver, and activities, which are bronze. The main quests obviously progress the story, while side quests show you the world. And most of these side quests are unique, especially with the boast system. Main quests and side quests have boasts, a system that allows you to wager gold to do a challenge and nets you more gold if completed, adding a layer of difficulty to these quests. Activities are what you expect. They're the quests that you find from talking to people in the world. The everyday man hero quests. And while simple, they're also unique and always worth it. Except coin golf. Fuck you, coin golf. So the side quests, they're neat. There's some cool ones. They all have something unique about them, but they are simple and are easy. They are always a kill a bunch of people quests or escort quests. They're not too deep, but they are always worth doing because of how much they pay, and especially with the boast system. And that's it. That's my retrospective on Fable 1. Yeah, I could have gone way more in depth with the game, but there's no reason to. Other people have done this on YouTube in their own videos. They've gone way more than I. I wanted to do my own view, which means that some things aren't going to get covered because they technically don't matter. And if you do want to experience Fable 1, then you'll want those things without me talking about it. I love this game. I really do. It holds such a special place in my heart because it's one of the first games I've ever played. But as I went through it again, I really noticed that this game does suck. It is not that great. There isn't a lot. It's a short game with 15 hours roughly, and that's if you do everything. And I do mean everything. All activities, quests, and side quests. It has jank. I like jank, but its age shows. The anniversary edition fucked up all the models, made them way worse than the original. So be warned. Everybody kind of looks like a fish, in my opinion. And with all that being said, I still love it. I love this game and I always will. I've played it probably every year, every 2 years. I've played it a lot. I love it. And I always will love this game. If you can play it, either the original or the anniversary edition, I strongly recommend it, especially if you've never played it before and want to before the new one. But what I don't recommend is that you play it if you struggle with old games. If you struggle going backwards and playing old games. Because some people do. So I wouldn't recommend that. And I definitely do not recommend any DLC that you see on the anniversary edition. It's so worthless. Please don't waste your money on it. You're better off buying shoelaces at the store. I do plan on making a retrospective of Fable 2 and Fable 3. And I do look forward to playing with them, even though it's going to be hard to kind of do. And this is going to be a little bit of a poison well. I hate Fable 2 and 3 with a passion, but I'm going in with the most optimistic mind. I want to leave off here. I want the remake to succeed, but I'm very skeptical of it. Doesn't look good right now because of modern games. But what I want most of the new Fable is I want it to recapture the fantasy, to recapture the Fable part. I want spells. I want unique legendary weapons. I want the magic of the world to be there. I don't want this open world medieval fantasy game like Witcher, Skyrim. And while those are good, I want Fable to stand out above them. That's what the 3 main games had. I want to be excited, but I'm not one bit excited for this game, at least for now. I'll keep an open mind as we get closer, and for sure an actual release date, but it's hard. And I'll begin streaming Fable 2 on my Twitch account, so if you made it this far, I thank you. This is my first video, and I'll see you in a Fable 2 retrospective.